Lee, it was a magical weekend for a bunch of reasons. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Well, did it in the wrong order there, but either way, we hope it is good. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Welcome to Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carsillo in exhausted Los Angeles, California. Joining my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm wearing my Super Bowl t-shirt. It came in. The whole family got them. This is one of the best parts of winning is the apparel that you get or pay for. Way better than the 17 Super Bowl shirt. That one was kind of out there. I got it, but it's like not something you want to wear really out. This thing's a nice color. You can wear it with black. You can wear it with blue. You win. Super Bowl champs as we put an end to the season, the dominant performance by the Eagles. We won't talk about it again today, but I wanted to share my Super Bowl t-shirt. But Ray, you started the show by teasing that there was a magical weekend.
Yes.
There could be a lot of reasons for that.
Yes.
I'd like to know what you want those reasons to be.
Well, I mean, I think the big ones will be the bookends of the show, right? Which will be 50 years of Saturday Night Live was celebrated this weekend, which I think that whether you're into comedy or not, you can't deny the cultural phenomenon that is that show and the the everything from that show that's osmosis into our culture over the years from actors and comedians from that show, and of course what we're going to kick things off with. And then we're going to have a lot of garbage in the middle. We're going to kick things off with.
It's a sandwich.
It's a sandwich. The bread is the best part. In this case, that's not always the case, but in this case,
very true.
The Four Nations, the NHL Four Nations Faceoff, of course, has been underway, and we are on the cusp of the championship game, which really isn't a surprise, Lee. It's USA versus Canada. I think it was just going to be a matter of who was going to be 1-2, but it, of course, doesn't have any really effect on the actual final game. Lee, I have a lot of thoughts about this whole thing, but I want to get yours first before I probably bring things down. So,
I will fight you on that because this has probably been one of the best things the NHL has done in 20 years. I think that everything out there shows that that's true. I think the surprise right now, it's not so much Canada, USA, although I never count out Finland and Sweden ever.
Sure.
If they really show up, they can compete as well. This being in North America, I think is to their disadvantage. But I think the order of America being 1 and Canada being 2, that is the surprise for a lot of people.
Sure.
And typically when that happens, the team gets revenge in the final. But I don't know this time. There's a lot of things playing into this. Again, for those of you who may not be following, the first leg of this tournament was held up in Montreal, up in Canada.
Yep.
USA-Canada was the greatest first period I have seen in hockey, I think, in my life. The game definitely settled down or settled in after that.
Yes.
And then tactically, the USA shut down the greatest players in the world by clocking the neutral zone in really a near perfect defensive effort.
Yeah.
It was an amazing hockey game, aside from the 3 fights in the first minute of the game, which was awesome, just fantastic. Everybody wanted that. Now, there is some minor political overtones in the game with the booing of national anthems. I'm very curious to see how, as we turn to Boston now, how the Boston fans will do it. I was joking, Ray, that the American fans have this really unique opportunity to kind of upstage Canada by not booing and a standing ovation for their anthem, but I have no faith that Boston will do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I think that's kind of really just, I think the thing that I want to kind of like just touch on is this. I think that there's 2 things that can be true. This was a win for the NHL. This was a brilliant idea.
Massive
this
win.
Is kind of, I mean, baseball kind of did it with the World Baseball Classic, but obviously didn't replace the All-Star break. It kind of replaced spring training. Yeah. But I do also want to mention that I do think part of the reason why, and it has to be mentioned, USA, Canada, over 10 million people watched in North America. It is the most people who watched since the LA versus New York Rangers Stanley Cup 10 years ago.
That's saying something. That's a big deal for the hockey.
I mean, to be fair, those are the 2 largest markets in North America.
Yeah.
But I do think a big reason why that USA Canada was so supercharged, both in terms of the fights, and you mentioned the anthems to touch upon it, is I do think that the NHL accidentally created one of the most politically charged sporting events that we've seen in several years.
Sure. I mean, you can definitely make that claim. I won't fight you on that. I don't think it ruined it, though. I think it enhanced it.
I don't think it ruined it, but I do think that we need to keep it in perspective that if the final was Canada-Sweden coming up, I don't think people would be nearly as
100% agree.
Into it as obviously
it's
USA.
Not. It's USA Canada, and
right. There's what could have, should have been, what it would have been, and then what it is. Yes.
This is what I'll say, and there are a lot of different directions you can go with this. No matter where anyone stands politically, it is incorrect to boo anyone's anthem. And if the Boston crowd decides to do that on Thursday, I will also say again, it is wrong to do that. With that said, I do take some pride as an American that the athletes, not the league, the athletes took it upon themselves that if you're going to disrespect us in your country, we're going to drop the gloves and fight you, and we will not be disrespected. I have no problem with that. And I have no problem that Canada defended themselves too. They fought. There were good fights. Okay? That's hockey. That's hockey showing you how it's done. Okay? Right. So if and I think it shocked the Canadian crowd quite a bit, even though they were excitedly shocked. Yeah, I think it's like you're not gonna boo the national anthem and get away with it. Yes. And I'm gonna say it again, it should not happen on Thursday night either, if that's the case.
And the thing is this is something that needs to be said because this happened a couple weeks ago in Nashville when the Canadian anthem did get booed. Right, this has kind of been going on back and forth now between the two countries. Whenever an American team goes up to Canada, whenever Canada comes back down to the States, it is something that there's a really interesting undertone right now with some of these games because of what's going on in the world beyond sports.
Well, right? I'm going to take it back to the sport a little bit too. And this is me being ingrained in hockey, Ray, that USA has fast been catching up with Canada in terms of dominance, hockey dominance.
Oh, absolutely.
And as of today, USA has tipped the scale. Okay.
Yes.
A lot of Canadians are going to hate me for this. You are not leading in ice hockey at the moment. The USA is. We have won the World Junior Championship. We won the last game. I'm not saying we're claiming victory. I'm saying that we have caught up. Right? Canada is no longer the hockey superpower that it once was. There's a lot of different reasons for that. Some of it is Hockey Canada's mismanagement of the game. Some of it is the United States has a massive population, and we're about over 20 years into the development model that was created here in the United States. The United States is a hockey superpower. It may be the hockey superpower. And if they do win this game Thursday, that is the flag in the chest of we are now on top. So there's a lot of that in this contentious matchup as well. It's been coming for a long time. Also got to remember, this is the first time the best athletes for USA and Canada have really played each other in a long time. So there's a lot of things playing into this. Okay.
Yes.
Politics as well, but it's not, people have been trying to overly politicize it. And I don't think that's fair. There's a role of it in there. But it's no different to me than, great matchups of international in the past. Yeah. The difference being we're not at potential war with Canada. Okay. We just want you to be a state. We just want you to be a state. No, I mean, look. One of the – I'm joking, by the way, people. But one of the biggest I had to say that.
Yes.
One of the biggest misnomers that, again, a lot of Americans don't realize about Canada, but Canada knows about us. The population sizes are nowhere close.
We outnumber them 10 to 1 or almost 11 to 1. Yeah.
Right. And while I understand Canada not wanting to be bullied, I mean, that is a truth of the situation. Right. Yeah. So, proud, mighty nation. But I love everything about what they're doing here, Ray. This has been an extreme triumph. If there were any questions about these guys going light, it was answered in the first 10 seconds of that game. These guys are giving everything for this matchup. And I do expect Thursday to be a crazy game. I mean, this might be one Super Bowl level type hockey game. Right?
Yeah. Well,
real quick, we talked about this. What if the Stanley Cup final was one game? You're about to see that.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't see this every 4 years in the Olympics. You don't.
No.
Okay? I've seen it a couple times. Yeah. Right. Like you're about to see a Super Bowl of hockey mid-season, by the way. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's something that, it needs to be said is that the players care. The players care about this more than you usually get from
any sport.
And definitely more than whatever you get from an all-star type event.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But I definitely think that going forward, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, there's been a couple of injuries that have happened from this. You mentioned the midseason aspect. So that could shake things up. I'm curious to see the players who did compete, how they, players who got rested during this break versus who don't, how that affects the NHL. And I do want to see if they continue to do this next year. And if they do it next year,
well, they won't next year because it's the Olympics. So
that's right.
So this year is the Four Nations Faceoff. Next year will be the Olympics. My guess is you will get an All-Star game the year after that.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I think this comes back in a much bigger way. I think the world.
Well, I was gonna say the next time they do this, they need to expand this tournament beyond U.S., Canada, Finland, Sweden.
Yeah,
right?
and I imagine that they will make it a 6 teams face off and 8 teams face off, something like that.
Yeah.
The question will be, when do they do it?
Right.
Because there's no NHL GM after this that's going to want their players to do this ever again in the mid-season outside the Olympics. But my guess is what they're doing, and we know this, they want to build a World Cup, and I think it's going to be in the halfway point between Olympics. So every 2 years you'll have international hockey at its highest level. And I think the NHL wants to own that with their own athletes. The fact that the Winter Olympics are in Europe next year, a little closer than Asia, is why they're allowing them to go. So here's the deal. There's no doubt that this international stage has vaulted the game. Everyone is talking about it. In fact, PK Subban, as you saw, did an amazing video really ripping on the NBA, that the NBA has completely lost its way.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah, I mean, that was a brilliant rant and true, 100%. In my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to get to that in a second. One other thing the Four Nations tournament did, which is interesting, and now has brought up the discussion possibly of the NHL adopting, because this is kind of an international point system. You get 3 points for a win.
Right.
You get 2 points for an overtime win, 1 point for an overtime loss, and 0 points for a regulation loss. There are talks about the NHL in the future adopting more of this international style, where it's 3 points for a win in the regular season, 2 points for an overtime win. Whereas obviously right now it's 2 points for a win no matter what, and 1 point for an overtime loss and no points for regulation loss. Lee, what are your thoughts on the NHL possibly adapting this tournament and an international tournament style of point system into the NHL going forward?
Well, first, I applaud the NHL. They're always willing to try things. That's one thing that everyone can give the NHL credit for. They're not afraid to try things, from the Winter Classic to the Four Nations Faceoff to the All-Star formats of the last few years of that little mini tournament. They're not afraid. And one of those things that they did try in this tournament is that point thing. I'd like to look in the data a little bit more, because I don't know how many ties, overtime losses, not ties, but overtime games, the shootout games that there are. I do like the idea that winning is rewarded. Okay. I don't like the idea that a team could potentially kind of get in the playoffs by losing in overtime over and over and over again, by getting those points. Where a team that maybe won less, but in the sense of like point wise, doesn't get in the playoffs for that matter. We're kind of seeing that in the Eastern Conference right now. So I think straight out winning should be rewarded. And I think that, I'm not against if you get to overtime that you earned a point, but splitting the points, I don't know. And they do have that third point added now in overtime as well. So I don't know, right? I mean, I think you have to try it. I think they could do the math on it of like, well, let's look at the last 5 seasons. What would this have changed?
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. I think that's one way of looking at it. But the NHL is never against trying things. Like I don't love our current divisional format. I don't hate it either. I just don't love it. I kind of liked it when there were 6 divisions. That was a little more fun for me. The 4 divisions with the wild cards, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's weird to me not having the other 4 teams that we hate. You know what I mean? It's like, now it's 8. It's just
it's a bit of a it's a bit lopsided.
Now they did that because they added 2 more teams. Okay, so like there's reasons for it, but it's just a little different.
Well, and that's the thing, is if the NHL keeps adding teams, then you can go back to 6 divisions pretty easily. You could have 6-team divisions, right? Like if you add 4 more, honestly, if the NHL adds 4 more teams, which goodness knows
they may,
there are plenty of markets for it.
Yeah, they may.
You could do 6-team divisions very easily, and I think you really would have some fun you'd have some real fun, I think, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And again, for those of you listening and wondering why expansion's not more aggressive, it's because it dilutes the game, and they know that. Like anytime you add 22 more players in the league, you actually you do dilute it a little bit.
Right.
And if you do that with 3 or 4 teams at once, you actually can have a problem.
Yeah, because that's especially because you're going to have an expansion draft and all this, and suddenly you have 88 more players added to the league.
It takes time for the talent to catch up with the numbers being added. And you saw this back in 1967. They added 6 teams.
Yeah.
And that division was horrible.
The Western Conference.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, so they saw that then. That's why they slowly do it. Now, again, that was also a merger situation. I'm not going to get into the law of the whole thing.
Right.
That was probably what was best for the game at the time. But the NHL probably slowly over 15, 20 years may look to do that.
Yeah, no, I think you'll see 2 teams. I think you'll see, and then you'll see another 2 teams, and then I think you'll see realignment.
Yeah. You don't notice it when there's 1
years.
Yeah, you don't when one team jumps in, you don't really notice it. But when there's 5, you would notice it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, so the NHL, congratulations on what looks to be. We'll do a full breakdown of the championship game next week.
Yeah,
it looks to be
it's a triumph. Yeah. It already is. It already is.
Absolutely.
By the viewership, the amount of people talking about it. And I don't remember the last time. It was probably back in 1994 that the NHL was really on the NBA's heels in terms of talking points. Viewership is not the same. But, man, PK Subban gave a great rant just about what are the NBA players playing for. It's obvious what the NHL players are playing for. The culture is obvious.
Yes.
We're having NBA players now. I'm going to say it right. I mean, the NBA looks – I don't want to say this, and I don't say this lightly, but you look soft.
That's exactly the word I was thinking.
Yeah, you look soft compared to decades before. And I know those athletes are giving their all. I do, okay? But compared to yesteryear, it doesn't look like that.
No.
And again, you're seeing these NHL guys kill themselves in a non-NHL tournament, technically, in terms of standings.
Right.
And we got a run here, the NBA All-Star Weekend. I barely saw anything. I saw one dunk from the dunk contest, and that's it. Like, it was a miss, complete miss.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is you're not seeing the stars participate in any meaningful way. I forget, I think it's a dude from the Magic who's a bench player won the dunk contest. It's his 3rd dunk contest in a row, and I didn't even realize. He's the first person ever to win 3 dunk contests in a row. I had no idea.
He used to play for the Sixers. He keeps moving around.
Yeah, well, there you go. I didn't even realize he was on the Sixers before. Like, I had no idea. Like, I'm like,
it's one of those things. Yeah,
and then you had like a duos competition, and then you had Chris Paul and Wembanyama. They basically got disqualified because the NBA was like, well, you didn't do it in the spirit of the competition. They're like, but we didn't break any rules. It was a timed thing, and they were like, we're just going to miss all our shots and miss all our passes because it's all about the time thing. And they're like, they thought they were smarter. And the NBA is like, well, that's not what we want, and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, and it was just a bad look all around. And then you have a mini tournament, Team Shaq, Team Chuck, Team Candace. It was 1st to 40 in each game. Like, what? I guess congratulations to Team Shaq.
I didn't even know. I mean, and this is the thing. It's like, I'm not anti-basketball. I didn't even know that was going on.
I forgot. It was I forgot until this morning, and I was like, oh yeah, I should actually look to see who won. Like,
I don't even care who won because it doesn't matter. Like, you know what? And I'll say this again: when USA play Canada, when Sweden plays Finland, it matters who wins those games.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So the NBA getting gut checked here, and again, I think with PK Subban's comments, he wasn't trying to be negative. He's trying to inspire those athletes. You got to play for something. You guys don't look like you're playing for anything. You already got the money. What are you playing for?
Well, I mean, and I think that he said it. I think he also does go to the leadership or lack thereof from the elder statesmen in the league.
Yeah.
Right. When Jordan was in the league, he specifically mentioned when Jordan was in the league, when Kobe was in the league.
You didn't have these problems back then.
You didn't have these problems. And it's kind of, I mean, and sorry, it's a little bit of a shot at guys like LeBron because it's like, that's who the elder statesman is of the league right now. There's no denying that even if you don't want to say LeBron's the GOAT, he's top 3 all time. There's you can't.
No point in that.
Yeah, like you can't deny it. I think honestly at this point, LeBron is probably the GOAT, right? Like he's got all the records. He's got 4 rings. Yes, he's also got 6 losses. But he's got 4 rings. He's got all the records.
He is the GOAT of his era. That is what I mean.
Absolutely 100% of that.
It's so hard to contest GOATs.
Comparing him to Bird or Jordan or Kobe or Russell or Magic, it's very, very difficult.
He's the GOAT of his era. Okay.
But
I don't think he's the GOAT all time, but he's the GOAT of his era.
Sure. But the point is, this isn't a discussion of what LeBron's status is. The point is, though, is that as an elder statesman of the NBA, him not participating or going hard in these weekends and being the flag bearer and beating the drum for the NBA, it's a bad look for the league and it hurts the league. And I think that's kind of what PK was kind of saying.
And here's the thing. The NHL had the same issue about 6-7 years ago. Ovechkin would classically miss the All-Star game.
Yes.
Okay. Crosby would play, but it was always a what if. They were facing the same problem. They found a solution. They made that tournament. They put $1 million on the line for the winner.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now they elevated it to the international stage.
Yep.
You got to try things. All right.
Yep.
And like I said, the NBA, I'll compliment like the midseason tournament. Love it. I love it. I have no problem with it. Right. I think it's great. I think it's different.
Yep.
I think it creates meaningful games.
Yes.
That's a European thing that they did.
Yes.
All right. But the NHL just ate the NBA's lunch. I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
The NHL just ate the NBA's lunch in terms of this time of year. And I do think they should work together in a better way to find better solutions. But this has been an ongoing problem with the NBA for a while, that the athletes don't seem to be stepping up to create that why.
Yeah.
And fans need that. All right.
Well, and I think also that goes out to the point where, like, for every good thing the NBA has done, they've done two bad things, in my opinion, right? Yeah. Like, their All-Star weekend now is a joke.
Yeah.
And even the playoffs, the fact that now you have technically 10 teams.
That's a lot.
Make the playoffs in a 30-team league, or 10 teams per conference. That's 20 teams in a 30-team league.
Yeah. It's dilutes.
That dilutes things. I think you need to go back to the way it was. It's like it's a hard cutoff. You're the 8 seed. That's it. You're in.
Yeah.
Not the 9 seed plays the 8 seed. The 10 seed plays the 7 seed. Maybe no, none of that garbage. No, get rid of that little mini thing. Get rid of it.
And this is why I like the NHL too. Half the team makes it, or half the league, makes it.
Yes.
It should never be less than that. In fact, there's arguments that it shouldn't even be that. I mean, baseball obviously championed that for many years, but the truth is this: it's a business, and we have found that if you're below a 4 seed, you do have a chance of winning in these two sports now. So again, it's like the MLB a few years ago, where they're doing one thing right and 10 things wrong. They have started to finally reverse that for me, and I'm enjoying baseball again. But the NBA is kind of next up. The NFL has no issues. The NBA is next up with this, but I just want
the NFL needs to fix the Pro Bowl too. Needs to fix their
but here's the thing with the Pro Bowl. It's never been looked at to be serious, right? In the sense of, like, no one's waiting for the Pro Bowl. Okay. I'm like, when I was a kid, I used to love the NHL All-Star game. You look forward to it.
Yeah.
But like the Pro Bowl is meant to be fun. It's meant to be not serious. I think everyone logically can understand why they don't need to be playing a full game with hitting that could potentially injure someone. So I think there's just understanding with football. Like, this is a heavy contact sport. They don't need to be killing each other. Okay.
The regular season and playoffs in football are so great that like people can forget about the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it's fun. You watch it. I don't think they don't market it like it's this big thing. And the NBA though, NHL, they have always marketed their All-Star games as these massive things.
Yes.
Right. Again, the MLB figured this out with the World Baseball Classic. 100% brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. Yes. No one disagrees with that. The NBA and NHL All-Star games, have come into question. The NHL has figured it out. Completely figured it out. And the NBA has not figured it out. So, and again, this isn't an all-star game that the NHL has done. I mean, this is, and again, that was our conversation last week is it going to be real hockey? This is beyond NHL hockey right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again. That was the greatest first period I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was like full check 90s hockey with today's talent.
Yeah.
And then again, for the hockey enthusiasts, tactically, that was one of the most brilliant games I've ever seen by the U.S.
Oh yeah, the way folks, again, to bring it back, you look at how the U.S. locked down. Now again, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched a lot of the tournament, but I watched the U.S. Canada game.
Oof,
right?
Brilliant.
Like the way they locked down those superstars. Like, you take away that McDavid breakaway in the first period, and this was a perfect defensive game.
The neutral zone.
And I still think the U.S. I think the U.S. slightly favored to win tomorrow.
It's tough. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see because McCarr is coming back for Canada. McAvoy is going to be out for the U.S., but Hughes is going to come back for the U.S.
Hughes.
What's he going to be like? What is going to be the status of the Chuck brothers?
This is going to be a war, okay?
Yes.
A war on ice.
Yes.
I'm hoping this is the greatest game ever played, if you know what I'm trying to say. And here's the thing. I do think the USA stunned Canada in that game. And I don't mean stunned by the score. I mean, they stunned them with the fighting. They were full out checking everything that moved. I think there was a little bit of stunning there. That's not going to happen in this game. They're all going to show up, and it's going to be a war. I'm joking. I'm going to the Flyers game on Saturday. I was joking. I will not be surprised if McDavid's not playing. All right. Yeah. If he's healthy, he will. But I'm saying I think all these players might get a day off here, depending on how this game goes. But I'm excited about it. You want to make predictions?
US 3-2.
Okay, I'm gonna go US 4-3. It's gonna be very close. I would not be surprised if this is an overtime game.
Oh yeah, and again, and if Canada, I wouldn't be surprised if Canada wins either. Like, I mean, I think this is like
no. I'm just picking USA because I want USA to win. Right? Like like I said, Canada's gonna have to figure out how to break through that neutral zone.
Right.
John Cooper's a very good coach, so he'll figure this out. So, Connor Hellebuck probably versus what's his name from St. Louis? Binnington. Yeah, I remember that we're getting
old. And that was a big deal also for the U.S. is that U.S. I don't want to say they kind of like took their foot off the gas against Sweden, but they kind of did.
Oh, they totally did.
Right.
Yeah.
Like obviously, Chris Kreider got to play a game, which was nice. Ettinger started in net to give Hellebuck a day off, a little time off. So you're expecting the U.S. to be super sharp.
That may give them a little advantage because, again, Canada had to play full out, and they almost lost that game. Yeah. Like they were up 3-0. It was 3-2 at one point, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's or maybe it was 4-3. I can't remember, but they had to play. They had to play out.
They had to play because they had to win. Because at that point, going into the last day of play, the U.S. had clinched everything. Yeah. And the other three teams were all tied at 2 points.
Rested our starters, for lack of a better word. So we'll see. It's going to be a great game. If you are not watching this, you are missing out. And I don't know how you're missing it because everyone is talking about it in the sports world right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's the biggest thing going on right now. And honestly, this is great for the NHL because, there isn't a lot else going on. Obviously, football is done. It's still weeks before the draft. Again, the NBA, the All-Star weekend was a disaster, although their regular season kicks back off tonight. And baseball is just getting started. Spring training just got started. There's a couple of last-minute signings. Alex Bregman went to Boston on what I felt was a terrible year, terrible deal, $40 million a year for 3 years for an aging infielder. But anyway, and Justin Turner went to the Cubs, and Uriel went to the Padres. Little 1-year deals here or there. A little bit of baseball news, which was also going to kind of transition us into our Geeks section, is
it's interesting.
This was fun, and honestly, I'm actually surprised it didn't happen sooner. Pokemon Go is teaming up with Major League Baseball to have specific events at different stadiums throughout the year. They're going to have special new Pokestops put into the different stadiums, this just makes perfect sense because if you're walking around a baseball stadium, you can also play Pokemon Go.
That's brilliant.
In fact, a lot of times I do it. If I go to Dodger Stadium, I have Pokemon Go playing because I care about Pokemon Go more than the Dodgers. But I'm surprised that this didn't happen sooner. And then honestly, that Pokemon Go hasn't been doing this with all the sports leagues. Lee, what are your thoughts on the Pokemon Go Major League Baseball team up?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Pokemon Go is a game that has to completely always reinvent itself. Mm-hmm. So I love that they're exploring that and not just dying, right? Some of the, we'll call them add-ons in that game have not been great over the years. They're like, I don't want to do this. There was a time, especially during COVID, I was playing that every day and you kind of lose interest. But you add, Major League Baseball into it, that's very interesting suddenly. And I'm going to be at games so you can catch certain things that matter at those games. I do like the gamification of professional sports. I think it draws more people in. It brings in more kids. It gives you something else to enjoy. Baseball is the perfect sport for this. You could not do this with a hockey game. You don't want to watch the action, but it also gives dads and moms a reason to explore the parks with their kids, which I really like.
Yeah. No, this is good on Niantic. This is good on the Pokemon Company and Nintendo and all of them.
Helps the stock out.
Yeah, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Sorry, just looking to see there's some minor but not inconsequential gaming news happening. So fanboys looking for stuff. They're looking for fire where there's not even smoke. But I'm getting the updates on.
You're in the right place.
Yeah. So yes, no, but yeah, no, this is good on Pokemon Go. This is good for. I think it's good for everybody. So this is a fun little thing and good little announcement here to kick off spring training. We're 6 weeks away, less than 6 weeks away from the start of baseball season. Yay! All right. Speaking of video games, a little bit more video game news. Sony had their state of play last week, or their most recent one, I should say.
What is the state of play, Ray?
Well, if you're a Sony fan, it's not good, Lee.
Yeah.
Because Sony basically is like, we have no games coming out for at least another year and a half. Yay! Everything they showed off at the state of play is also going to be on Xbox. Or released first, or is going to everything else that's coming out for Sony is going to release first on Xbox. That's where Sony is. Sony has the hardware, they have the install base, and they have 0 games, 0 exclusives, nothing coming. Whereas Microsoft just released the first of 4 exclusives, or at least timed exclusives, of the spring, a game called Avowed. I hope to beat that maybe this weekend. I'll give you all a full review next week if I should get through it. It's an RPG, so it might be a little bit long. Might take me an extra week or so, but we'll see. But it's getting rave reviews, Avowed. But yeah, Sony. We got a Borderlands release date, September 23rd. That's great. Sega announced a new Shinobi side-scrolling game that looks like a lot of fun. Lies of P, which I sang its praises a couple of years ago. That finally the first DLC pack is dropping. WWE 2K25 got a special highlight of its island mode, which a lot of folks are not happy about because just like the 2K career mode kind of thing, it's going to be full of microtransactions. And people it makes sense that obviously 2K25 or WWE is copying NBA 2K25, but the wrestling fans are like, we didn't want this. We don't want microtransactions. We don't want this in our game.
It's so dumb. It's brilliant.
No, it's just dumb. Yeah. And I think people are realizing that the people who play WWE 2K are different from the people who play NBA 2K. And I mean, there is obviously some overlap, but the wrestling fans way more vocal typically than the NBA fans.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so they are letting 2K know. But Lee, all these games that were shown off, obviously, are coming to, if not also Xbox, if not all systems, at least also Xbox. I do a meetup once a month with some professionals here in LA, some fellow professionals in the gaming industry, and nobody had a good thing to say about the Sony state of play. Lee, your thoughts?
Same thoughts I've been having for the last 5 years is that Xbox, so Microsoft has been ahead of this game. They released, their Game Center years ago. They know what they're doing. They've seen the future here, and they're paving the way for the future. And Sony is doing nothing to manage it or match it. And what that means to me, again, not an equal playing field. Sony is heading for the same level of extinction in terms of consoles that Sega did and other people within the business, right? You're going to be absorbed at some point, or most likely just a game maker. All right? That's what's probably going to happen is you're going to be playing Spider-Man on Xbox made by Sony. Right?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, right? Because a lot of people are like...
They got to do something, Ray. And this is the problem. They're banking so much on Wolverine, their exclusives. I just don't think that's going to keep an install base forever.
Again,
or you're going to have to make the greatest games every single year for 100 years, and that's not likely.
Well, and that's the thing is that you have the fact that you're going to probably go 2, if not 3 years between your AAA Game of the Year level exclusives, right?
Which are great. Don't get me wrong.
And they've had a couple surprises here or there. You know, Astrobot was a ton of fun, right? They've had a couple surprises, but I mean, and they do have the consoles sold, which is why Microsoft, who cares really more just about their bottom line, is like, yeah, we're going to start doing timed exclusives and start putting our games on Sony.
The math on this is very easy if you're a business, all right?
Yeah.
It's, it costs a lot of money to R&D and create these consoles.
Yes.
When they feel they can make more money with just games and consoles, they'll stop selling consoles. It's that simple. Yeah. And Microsoft will gladly come in and give everybody an Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay, but at some point, you're not going to be making as much money on games as you are on your consoles, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
All right. So whatever that math is, it's already been preordained. I mean, they already know that by 2035 we're going to be in the red. All right, and that's when they'll change whenever that happens. So I'm going to maintain it again. I don't know if you'll see another PlayStation. All right.
I think
it better be something special. They better rethink that.
I mean, to your point, though, we've talked about this in the show before too, is that we might just get to the point where everything's just streaming through your smart TV anyway.
Well, we're already there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, Ray. Like there are I'm not saying consoles aren't needed.
Yeah.
They are, especially in some areas. Okay. But we're already there. Okay. Like it's not like not coming anymore. Like it's there. All right. You don't need a console anymore to play these games.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. And it's like, I mean, aside from
a little box or something like that, you don't need a console.
Yeah, aside
it costs a lot less to do that. Why would you not do that? Sorry, Ray, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, all you need is your portable Switch 2 or Switch 4 or whatever. They're going to keep going with that. And then, and everything else is just going to go through your television.
Yeah. Nintendo's already proven it. Like, again, I know the technology advances faster than we do, but it's already here. It's like streaming television that was here for 10 years before it became mainstream. Like, it's already happened.
Yeah.
I'll give you a better example. It's like AI. Like, all of us, our age, still going to Google, which is fine. Google's extinct. Google is extinct. AI is better than Google. ChatGPT, Grok 4, DeepSeek, whatever you're using is better than Google because it does it for you. This is what I tell people when they're looking at the future. Like again, we all still use Google. We're trained to use it. AI is better than that. Here's what I'm thinking about. I don't know how much experience you have on AI, Ray, but the conversations are very lifelike. All you have to do is put that technology into a robot, and we're there. So this reminds me of like green screens when we were kids, right? Number Munchers and Oregon Trail on a Mac green screen, right? Then it evolved into the PCs that we know today. Ray, the first iPod, green screen. It was a green screen. I don't know if you remember that or not. The first iPod was not color screens. They were green screen. Then they evolved into the iPhone, which we have today. This AI technology that we have today is green screen, that you're in the green screen era of it. It just types, it talks. I mean, you can put some voice to text. You put it in a robot, which they're creating, that walks around your house. Now you're talking to a robot. And then, Ray, the robots take over and they start playing football. And now we're watching robot football that know everything. And then, Ray, they take over everything because the humans cannot be trusted.
No.
And then, Ray, you take the green pill or the red pill. I'm changing it for the purposes of this show.
And that's why
the Giants or the Eagles.
That's why I am rooting for the asteroid that is now a 3% chance of hitting us in 2032.
You know what's going to happen? That's going to hit the Pacific and go blink. All right. And everybody's like, well, what happened? It's like, we fear-mongered that to death. And it ended up just being in the Pacific Ocean. Nothing happened. I'm sorry. An island was flooded.
Yeah. There might be like a couple of tidal waves from that, depending on how big it is. But
the fear mongering on that is insane. Like it's the size of the Statue of Liberty. It is not a cataclysmic, earth-ending asteroid, as at least what we know of it right now.
Yeah.
And obviously, people, what if it hits a populated area? There's actually a really low chance of that happening, considering one side of the Earth is water.
Yeah. and even all of the land on the earth is not populated. I mean, you bring it all back to hockey. Half of Canada is just a frozen wasteland.
Right.
And Russia too, for that matter.
Like, even if this thing hits New York, you're going to have enough time to evacuate people out of there, which God help us. It doesn't hit any populated areas, but this is like,
we also have these things called rockets.
I
that can
know.
push it off
I
trajectory
know.
if that happens.
It's going to be one of those things of like, you get this. But what if it is cataclysmic and ends the world? It's like, well, you might as well enjoy the last few years you got, right? Go
Have
Birds!
fun. Smoke them if you got them.
Man, I really hope the Giants and Eagles get better before that. We need one more good matchup before it all goes to hell.
Oh God, yeah. Maybe if we trade for Matthew Stafford. Ugh. Oh my gosh.
In the final Super Bowl.
Yeah, the final Super Bowl. For that, we'll get together for that one, buddy.
By the
We'll
way,
get together for
if
that
it's even if this happens or not, it's funny. If
Yeah.
that's the way we all go out, that's hilarious.
one. Oh my gosh. Oh well. Speaking, I guess, of going out, our last story of the day, we teased it at the top.
Well, you got
50
you
years
gotta
of Saturday Night
wait. You gotta prompt this the right way.
Live from New York. It's 50 years of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, you did it justice. I'm glad that you and I are always on the same wavelength with this stuff. I didn't have to tell you. You knew.
Yeah.
Two 50th anniversaries. Music and the show.
Yes, they did the music and the show. The music, both of them were very good. If you haven't had a chance to watch them, I know it is a lot of television. It's basically 6 hours of TV between the two, but really great insights into the music about, and also like the insight of how the week goes. Because I thought that my favorite segment was the musical guest talking about what it was like to be both a host and the musical guest. If you had to do both. And pulling double duty, which I didn't realize. I mean, I knew it was hard, but I think that's the first time you really see just how hard.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And that was great. And then, of course, the main show, Steve Martin does the opening monologue. You just have a cavalcade of anybody and everybody who has been part of the show over the years. I'm still trying to figure out if Kevin Costner and Jenna Ortega were actually in on that bit, or if they were really caught by surprise that they
all the players were caught by surprise. I really do.
I don't think they realized that they were going to be in the middle of that. So Kevin Costner in particular, when they gave him the Elmo head, looked very perturbed, which I thought was hysterical. But some really, really fun classic bits. They do a whole montage and tribute to New York City throughout the years from 1975 to now, with like Nathan Lane and John Mulaney and several of them, cocaine and some vodka, the whole Hakuna Matata ripoff, just really, really funny sketches. It was really, really well done. And of course, obviously tributes to so many folks who have been lost over the years. The Adam Sandler song, paying tribute to everyone, and of him getting emotional with Farley and Norm Macdonald in particular. He got a standing ovation. A rare Jack Nicholson appearance now in his later years. He's 87 years old, but he showed up in a very nice Yankee beret that I had never seen before, that I now want to introduce Sandler. Just.
It was great. It was great.
It was just great. It really was great television. It really was. It was phenomenal.
And it's SNL has not always had great seasons. I mean, there was, at least in my opinion, I should say that there was a dip probably around the 2010s. I would say, they made that 2005, 2015, where it wasn't bad casts.
Yeah.
They all went on to be successful. It's just the shows were missing a lot of the times for me. Like, just the comedy wasn't there. I don't know if that's writing or what. And maybe it's where we were in our lives too at that time, right? I just remember it wasn't always great. It wasn't always fun. In recent years, they've really figured it out again.
Yes.
I think what happened is that the show, SNL is better when they make fun of politics, all politics. All right.
Yes.
And when they're able to do that freely, it's really, really funny. And I think there was a time period there. But for those of you listening, this was actually well before Trump. That they were skirting that too much, or they weren't doing it, or it was too pointed one direction. It was kind of obvious, and it was just they were missing. They were missing things, and I think that like now it's just much better. It's much funnier. They're not afraid. Like Black Jeopardy is not something they would have done 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, they're just not afraid. But people are like, well, that's they were doing that in the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
They just kind of skirted away. I guess they didn't want to get canceled or something like that. But now they're back on.
Well, and I think that's the thing is I think you go through waves, right? I think you go through waves. I think even they kind of hinted at that a little bit where, like that's why Billy Crystal was there for a year, right? Like it's not because Billy Crystal's not immensely talented. It's because that time was not great and they kind of inherited, sometimes also when you have a massive popularity, like the first 5 years of SNL were massively, massively popular. So then you had a lull where the only good players people felt like for a couple of years was Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo, right? And then you start to kind of build back up, and then you get the Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, David Spade, Chris Farley generation.
That was a golden era. I mean, the first golden era is the first cast for sure, but that was a golden era again.
And then you have like 2 or 3 years of a lull as those guys start to go to Hollywood and start to break off and become big stars. And then around then you start to get your Will Ferrells in. You start to see a little bit of a transition, and then they go to Hollywood, and then so you have these transitional periods. And I think that right now, there have been some constants. What's it? Kenan Thompson, obviously, who has been around now for
20 years, almost
20 seasons, I think.
But I would say this: that they're in a transitionary period now, but they're doing this is a good transition. I mean, they're doing a good job.
Yes.
Some of these new people they've brought in have been very funny.
Yes.
Obviously, picking the right host is also very important.
Yes.
Right? But they've done a great job. I mean, I think Weekend Update is actually the best it's ever been. And that's not a shot at Norm Macdonald or Chevy Chase, but the dynamic between Shay and I'm blanking on his name. My God,
Colin Jost, Scarlett Johansson's husband.
Scarlett Johansson's husband is what I was going to say. I was like, I don't want to miss his name. That's one of the best things. Like when they read each other's jokes, that is often the funniest thing that the show does, and that's saying something.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing is like I also, by the way, I love that the SNL 50 they poked fun that there's the segments after update where they did like the fake commercial. It's like, it's like this is for to keep you awake for the skits after update because we know that the show's not nearly as good in the second half, but we've still got to fill the airtime or something like that. Like, but
and then there was also the anxiety sketch, which I thought was really great.
Yes,
Sandler's song was great. They did a great job.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I think, speaking of like my favorite, like Marcelo Hernandez, who's part of the new cast. And
he's great.
He's
so
good. Like he's the next rising star.
Easily. As a rookie last year, he did that.
Yeah. I mean, you've got some real strong talent right now there on the show. And also making fun of itself, not being afraid to make fun of itself. Yeah. I think also one of the best things they've done is they've started bringing in stand-up comics again as hosts. Yeah. Nate Bargatze, I think I'm saying that wrong. Right. Obviously Chappelle, Bill Burr, bringing these folks in, and it's like having them do 5 minutes of stand-up, like a tight 5 as the monologue, and then putting them into sketches. Bringing back Shane Gillis after all the drama with him being hired and then fired by SNL. All of that, it's paid off. I think it's paid off in spades.
And again, like kind of going back to its roots a little bit. And it's not the celebrity hosts are great, but you have to have a mix. It's really great to see a celebrity on there doing some fun things, but you got to have comedy or else it's not funny. Yeah. And the other one too is like, then you get and this is how powerful SNL is. Tom Hanks kind of revived his MAGA character over the weekend. Yeah. And now it's, this is a horrible representation. I'm like, guys, this is not new. He did this already, and it was really funny. So and then the stuff about Kevin Costner and Ryan Reynolds. I was like, guys, you're looking for crap. Yeah. Like just enjoy the show and shut your mouth. All right. But look, 50 is a triumph, no matter how you look at it.
Yes.
It's a fantastic show, and they've really found their way in recent years. Kind of like we talk about WWE, they figure it out. They find a way to survive.
Yeah. Right? Something you don't become the juggernaut that is a show like that or a juggernaut like the WWE without. Yes, you're going to have some lulls, but you find ways to pull yourself out.
They have. And there was a time, Ray. I remember us. I don't remember what year, but it was over a decade ago that we were talking of like, man, if they keep going this way, it's gonna end. We loved that show in college. But like there was a time I was like, man, they're just not watchable right now. But they figured it out. They found a way back, and they did it. Anything else on that? Because I have some other stuff I want to bring up real quick.
No, I think that is about it. I mean, I was going to probably try to. I wanted to briefly mention because we mentioned WWE a couple of times. Did you happen to watch this new show LFG that they're doing?
No.
It's basically like Tough Enough for a new generation.
Yeah.
It's like 16 kids fighting for an NXT contract. I already am. I just love the idea of. To me, this is the best reality TV that there possibly could be. Mostly because I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah, of course. Like, if you do it right, it's great.
They're also kind of doing something like they do with The Voice, where it's 4 judges, four WWE legends.
Yeah,
we're going to train 4 kids each, and then whoever ends up winning the contract also wins it for the coach.
That's awesome. Yeah,
cool. It's a smart way of doing like Tough Enough, but mixing it with more modern reality TV.
No, I like that. And
Bubba Ray Dudley. Yeah, it's Bubba Ray Dudley, Booker T, Mickey James, and The Undertaker.
That's awesome.
As the 4 judges.
It's very smart. Imagine getting him as your guy. Yeah. Hi, Mark. Don't call me that. Yeah. We're not friends.
Yeah.
It's funny because when Tough Enough came out, we were still in the, I'll call it time period. It was the Attitude Era. Yeah, it was the Attitude Era. It was a little bit too much. Like Triple H was a little too much for me back then. I was like, all right, man, calm down. But that's who he was back then. All right, quick updates from me. Love that, Ray. Many of you might be wondering, where is our Captain America review? We haven't seen it yet. Haven't had time. I've got kids, and Ray has me, so we have not had a chance to see it yet. But I do plan
try next week.
Yeah, we are trying to see it. I will say initial reviews don't look good. For the most part, no. I'm going to see it before I make any judgment. I always say that. I stick by that. I have not had a chance to finish Cobra Kai yet. For all you a-holes that are putting everything up online, please stop. Please stop. All right. The rules that we made don't apply to TV shows. You got to give that a little more time. Yeah. I don't have just like 6 hours to sit around and watch that. All right. No. The other thing too, Ray, you'll be happy to know I finally saw Sonic 3.
Hey, all right.
Ton of fun. Just incredibly well done. In a trilogy format, this was a great third movie where they were able to kind of tap on character development that had already been there and expand upon it, introduce a new character. And then obviously the end of the credits. I don't know if I want to spoil that for everybody, but a logical next place to go for Sonic 4 and probably 5. And a very beloved character. I don't know if you want to spoil it.
Several beloved, a couple of beloved characters.
Yes, showing up to join the cast.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, now here's the real question. Again, I will announce spoiler alert here if you haven't seen Sonic 3. They kill Robotnik in every movie.
Yes.
This one did feel a little more final.
But Jim Carrey has basically said that, like, if they want me back,
we'll find a way.
Yeah.
Also, so many hidden innuendos in this film. If you're a '90s film fan, I mean, when Robotnik says "Vaya con Dios" to Shadow, I almost died. I'm laughing in the room, and everyone's like, "What's so funny?" I was like, "You're not gonna get it."
Yes.
Vaya con Dios. I mean, it was just really, and then the fourth wall break was fun too. It's almost like we're the same actor playing somebody in a movie.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just classic.
Just enough.
It's just bookending his career, which is great.
Yes. Yeah. No, for sure.
It was well done. It was a fun movie. Kids and I watched it, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, that's
great. My daughter saw Dogman, and I did not, so I have no review.
There we go. I have not.
I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure it was
fine.
Not
plan on seeing it. Yeah. At some point, I also need to watch the new Spider-Man cartoon.
I haven't had a chance to do that yet either. Yeah. I haven't had a lot of interest, to be honest with you.
You want to talk about bad reviews? I've heard terrible things about it.
So. Yeah, I haven't had an interest. Like what I'm doing with Marvel, there was a time I'd watch anything they put out, but I'm not there right now. I mean, Star Wars, I'll watch it all.
Right.
And I do think you should take a chance on Skeleton Crew if you ever have a time. It was good. It was fun. Good ending. Not as wild as I wanted it to be, but it was a solid ending. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
But my brain always goes wild. So there's that. And then did you hear about Back to the Future 4?
No.
Yeah, they're still not making it. Thank God.
Good. Thanks. I was going to say, I just saw Christopher Lloyd a couple weeks ago. He didn't tell me anything.
There is a rumor. You can look this up. That they are thinking about making a video game.
I've heard that.
Yes.
I have heard that.
traditionalists here will say that they've already made 2 video games, Back to the Future and Back to the Future 1 and 2. I'm sorry, 2 and 3, which was the name of that game.
But to do it with modern technology would be
that would be a lot of fun. And I think that there's 2 ways you could do it, right? You could potentially do the movies.
Yeah.
Or you could create something totally new.
100% new. Because Telltale, they tried to do something with Telltale.
It wasn't bad. I played that. I beat that game.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But like, I would be curious to see what they try to do with it. But yeah, I have heard the rumblings of that rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we talked about this before. IP is king, right?
It's
in
king.
Any medium.
Well,
right?
and Bob Gale and Zemeckis will not sign off on anything.
Yeah.
But what they said in a recent interview was that the musical has done so well, and I saw it.
Yeah.
That it just shows that there is interest of our generation.
Oh yeah, the IP is far from dead.
Indiana Jones doing well also shows that this could happen. So it's all about the story. The Telltale game, it's like they go back to the 1920s in Prohibition, which I thought was actually kind of funny in Hill Valley. Yeah. But it's all in the details. It's all about how you do it. And we'll see. I mean, this is years away if they do it. But
sure, absolutely. It's going to take a long time because of game development. But I mean, look, Indiana Jones did it right, setting it between Raiders and Last Crusade. It was right like a year immediately after Raiders. It just was a perfect continuation of that story.
Yeah. They could easily, with Back to the Future, do something too, Ray, where either it takes place immediately at the end of Back to the Future 3, where like where's Doc going?
Yep.
All right. Which again, he kind of tells you when he says he's going back to the future. No, I've already been there, and he's saying, "Oh, I got the train updated." Or they could do something different. I would love to see a concept for that game. Is all I'm saying. I think people love Back to the Future, and you used to say that I have a time travel fetish, which I thought was a little abrasive. I think there is an interest there. I think I have obsession. I don't know if it's obsession. There's something there. I do love time travel things. Yes. Okay. Which is funny because I'm like the most present person on the planet.
Yes.
So I do think about that. Sometimes like, why am I so interested in time travel, but I don't want to actually time travel?
That is interesting.
And so there's something there psychologically. I haven't tapped it. All I mean again is that I'm very into whatever I'm doing in the moment.
Yeah.
But the idea of traveling through time, it enamors me, right? Maybe because it's not possible, or technically it is possible, but that's a whole nother show. Could travel. Watch Interstellar. There you go.
There you go. But I'm going to be seeing Captain America this coming Saturday.
Okay. So I will try and see it before the next show. I just haven't had the time. I'm looking forward to trying to see it though.
Yeah, no, well, I'm going to be going to a special screening, which is why I've held off. So
I was going to see it today, but someone had to record Geeks today, Ray, and it was me.
No, I was going to say that. No, not me. Not me.
It was me.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
So, we will figure it out. But yeah, so that does it. A quick show.
Great show. Great show today.
Yeah, quick.
Love doing these with you, man.
Shotgun blast.
Those of you listening, we love you too. But I love this is like my dessert for the week every week.
Yes.
Is it when you're a broadcaster, you have to have the show where you eat, and then you have to show where you have dessert. Yes. And then you have to do the show for your friends sometimes because they ask you to.
Yes, and clearly, as you can tell by my physique, all I have is dessert all the time. So this is
I wasn't going there, man. Come on. Yeah. Wait, are you saying we should start a different show? No, the Political Hour with.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, we just discussed wrestling on that show.
That's really what it is. Yeah. So what do you think of Linda McMahon? Linda McMahon, now the Secretary of Education.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna not.
We're not gonna go there. But that is a thing. That is a fact. That is a fact.
It's a thing.
That is a thing.
I'll let you know how my kids turn out. How about
with Triple H rolling his eyes behind her during the whole confirmation hearing, which was hysterical.
Yeah, it's like I shouldn't be here.
Triple H is like, I can't keep a straight face. I can't keep a straight face.
Yes, we got to educate people.
We have to you got to get an education, folks. You got to get that piece of paper.
We always say education is good, but hockey is importanter.
There you go. There you go. Well, on that note, we appreciate everybody for watching or listening, as always. But yeah, until next time, for Lee, I'm Ray, and this has been another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. Good night, everybody.
Go USA all the way.